Nigeria and around the world to Global TV AM News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodo. President Bola Tinubu has said Nigeria is taking a significant step towards sustainable and efficient future by introducing a pioneering initiative to deploy a fleet of 100 electric buses. The president spoke at the high-level meeting with stakeholders and investors on the Nigerian carbon market and electric buses rollout program on Saturday in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, on the margins of the COP28 Climate Summit. President Tinubu, in a statement by his spokesman, Ajuri Ngilale, explained that the strategic initiative was aimed at significantly reducing Nigeria's carbon footprint and modernizing the country's transportation systems as part of a larger effort to position Nigeria and Africa as a pioneering frontier of green manufacturing and industrialization with a focus on natural gas as a transition fuel alongside other renewable energy sources. To spearhead this transformative plan, the president announced the appointment of the executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mr. Zach Adedeji, and the Director General of the National Council on Climate Change, Mr. Dahiru Salisu, as co-chair of the Nigerian Carbon Market Activation Plan. At the backdrop of the pressures from the organized labor, there are indications that the federal government would rely on borrowing to implement its plan to increase salary for federal workers in 2024. This indication emanates from the details in the Budget Office of the Federation, BOF, notes on the 2024 federal government budget, where it attributed the rising deficit to three key factors, including salary review, among others. It stated the high projected level of fiscal deficit in 2024 is partly attributed to the proposed salary review of federal workers across board. The estimated deficit amounting to 9.3 trillion naira, according to the BOF, will be funded by both domestic and external borrowing. The other two key drivers of deficit in 2024 are increased pension obligations and high debt service costs. The planned FG deficit represents about 50% of the total FGN revenues, but analysis and analysts project a higher proportion given the current revenue constraints as well as actual performance in 2023. The federal government said it is working with the United States and the United Nations Program on HIV and AIDS and the Global Fund on an initiative aimed at ensuring country ownership and sustainability of national response to HIV and AIDS beyond 2030. The collaboration came just as the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, revealed that President Bola Tinubu's administration is committed to sustaining the initiative to treat more HIV patients annually using resources mobilized locally. The SGF, who spoke during the commemoration of the World AIDS Day in Abuja on Friday, said the government recognized the invaluable contribution of the communities in the fight against HIV and AIDS. The Nigerian Immigration Service has assured Nigerians will receive their passports 3 weeks from the day of application submission, except in cases of unanticipated technical difficulties. Speaking to reporters at the opening of the Igbo passports front office in the Igbo Abeyeku Local Government Council Development Area of Ikorodu, Lagos State, the Controller General, Mrs. Caroline Adepoju, stated that barring all technical problems, Nigerians should be able to completely apply for their passport, and within 3 weeks, they should be able to get it. According to her, since the national identity numbers are connected to passports, it is crucial that all applicants register using the same information as the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC. The Military High Command stated that the troops, in collaboration with the operatives of the Department of State Services, arrested the leader of Islamic State for West African Province terrorist group in North Central and Northwest zones. Although the military did not identify the terrorist leader, it said he was in custody. A statement by the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said the resolve of the military to go after the leaders of the terrorist groups led to the arrest of the terrorist leader. He noted that egg operations conducted in the regions had led to the destruction of the terrorist enclaves. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, has lifted the suspension placed on the Part G operation specification of the United Nigerian Airlines. This is coming following the suspension of the Part G operations specifications of the UNA by the NCAA after one of its aircraft landed passengers at the Asaba International Airport on Sunday rather than their destination in Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The airline had blamed poor weather for the diversion of the Abuja-bound flight to Asaba, the Delta State capital. However, in a statement dated December 1st, 2023, the NCC said its investigation into the unfortunate incident revealed lack of adequate liaison between the liaisons OCC and the lessors OCC, which omitted appropriate flight briefing from the point of departure. The agency noted that the investigation also revealed that cockpit crew and the cabin crew did not hold pre-flight briefing before embarking on the flight, and that the OCC flight monitoring of the United Airlines does not monitor the aircraft in the company's operations specification Part G, West Lease aircraft, as well as the non-adherence to approved flight ATC flight plan. The NCAA subsequently recommended that the approved flight program sent to the lessor and the necessary briefings should be conducted with a dispatcher of the lessee in attendance. Indications have emerged that the National Assembly would pass the 2024 appropriation bill of 27.5 trillion on Tuesday, December 19. The Senate and the House of Representatives had passed the Renewable Hope budget for second reading. The Deputy Senate President Jubril Barrow hinted during the plenary that the budget might be passed by the lawmakers on December 19 before embarking on their Christmas and New Year break. During deliberations, senators applauded President Bola Tinubu for his good intentions for the country, but some lamented the failure of the executive to provide the details of the budget. Core members have been warned to shun every form of misconduct throughout their service year in order to avoid being sanctioned by the NYSC bylaws. The Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, Brigadier General Y.D. Ahmed, gave the warning while addressing corps members in Edo State Orientation Camp, Okada. Likewise, their counterparts in Ondo State Orientation Camp in Akere, Akoko. He said there are laid down rules and regulations guiding every corps member while in camp, adding that the scheme is not a safe abode for lawbreakers. Corps members were advised to avoid unnecessary journey and avoid embarking on any risky adventure that may put them in danger. General Ahmed also urged the corps members to respect the cultural beliefs of their host communities and avoid any action that may put them on collusion course. He appealed to them to add value to their host communities by executing projects that would make life more comfortable for the residents. And still in the news, Ekiti State Governor Mr. Biodun Oyebanji on Saturday voted out his Ikogosi country home and the first local government council election conducted by his administration. Governor Oyebanji, who voted at his Ward 6, Unit 003, Okelele Street, Ikogosi, Ekiti, around 11:40 a.m., commended the State Independent Electoral Commission for their seamless and peaceful electoral process. He also thanked the Ekiti electorate for the peaceful conduct in the election, which took place in all 16 local government areas and 22 local government council areas. Speaking with journalists shortly after casting his vote, the Ekiti governor expressed delight that people at the grassroots were able to choose their representative at the local government and the 177 wards without fear or threat or any form of crisis. Governor Yebanji described local government elections as strategic and fundamental to the delivery of dividends of democracy to the grassroots. The governor scored the current local government administration in many of the council areas in the state high in the areas of infrastructure development. Oyebanji maintained that local governments are viable instruments of grassroots political participation, socialization, economic and infrastructure development, while commending the State Independent Electoral Commission and the security agencies in the state for the peaceful conduct of the election. The Ekiti State Governor said government would continue to prioritize voters' education and sensitization across the state in order to foster a more robust process and democratic participation. The attention of the Department of State Services, DSS, has been drawn to some spurious publications by one Jackson Ode on his X handle against the person and office of the DGDSS, Yusuf Magaji Bichi. In a statement made available to journalists by Director PR and Strategic Communication, DSS states that the allegations are entirely false and wishes to clarify that neither the DG nor anyone acting on his directive has looted staff's subsidy grant, and no such grant has been made available to the service, and once that is allocated, staff will, as usual, receive what is due them. BG has, in all ramifications, evidently cared for the welfare of active and retired personnel. The Nigerian Navy said its personnel have impounded and destroyed a boat conveying drums of illegally refined automated gas oil in the seaworld of the Bonny Island Channel in Rivers State. A top official of the Navy in Bonny, who did not want his name mentioned, disclosed this to journalists on Friday, saying the boat was arrested off the Bonny River. He stated in a coordinated effort, the diesel-laden boat was destroyed by men of the forward operating base Bonny, putting the estimated quantity of the destroyed product at 150,000 liters. The official further said the recent efforts by the security outfit were predicated on the charge of the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, to officers and men to stamp out criminal activities in the maritime domain. At an event organized by the project Enable Africa recently in Abuja to honor some prominent members of the disability community ahead of the forthcoming International Day of Persons with Disabilities, the Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, James David Lalu, has applauded President Bola Tinubu's administration for promoting the rights, welfare, and dignity of persons with disability in Nigeria. While appreciating the award of honor by Project Enable Africa, Lalu thanks the group for recognizing his efforts and contributions towards the development of the disability community, as well as his sacrifices to see the persons with disabilities have quality life and are not discriminated against on the account of their disabilities. And still in the news, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has destroyed 3 acres of cannabis farm in the Senina town, Sokoto State. This was disclosed by the Commandant NDLEA Sokoto Command Adamu Iro at the briefing with journalists at the State Command headquarters on Saturday. According to him, the officers and men of the command swooped into action to uproot the illegal crop planted in a maize farm, and the suspect was arrested. Further stating at the briefing that Sokoto has a history of farming marijuana, but with the current happening, the state is trying to register itself as one of the states identified as producers of the illegal crop. Hoodlums suspected to be armed robbers have reportedly attacked students of the Gateway Polytechnic, Sapade, Ogun State, killing one, while 9 others sustained injuries in Ode Remo in the early hours of Saturday. Media reliable gathered that the attack targeted students staying at the off-campus hostel of Sapade in the Ode, Ikbara, and Isara areas. This attack comes barely a week after the management closed the school for 3 days after students protested the rape of female students last week. The suspected robbers returned to Ode in the early hours of Saturday and attacked students' hostel. According to a source, the gun-wielding hoodlums invaded the students' hostel around 3 a.m. and unleashed terror on them, adding that the attack, which took place in the Laofi area of Ode, left 1 dead and 9 others injured, including a landlord. In some of the viral clips of the attack, it was observed that the doors were shattered, windows broken, and the walls riddled with bullets. It was also gathered that the robbers used heavy stones to break some windows to force their way into the hostels. You're watching Global TV AM News coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across social media platforms using our Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When AM News returns, Nigeria Germany signed agreement to accelerate Siemens power project. The news continues shortly with details of these and other stories right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. On the foreign scene, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree boosting troop numbers by 15% in a move that the army said was due to a threat associated with the Ukraine offensive. The move comes as both Ukraine and Russia seek to gain ground and replenish their ranks in the conflict, whose front lines have barely moved in recent months. The increase in the full-time strength of the army is due to growing threats to our country linked with the special military operations and the continuing expansion of NATO. The army stated that the number of serving army soldiers would increase by some 170,000 people, and that this was an adequate response to the aggressive activity of the NATO bloc. It added that it did not plan changes to conscription or another mobilization drive, unpopular measures that caused an exodus of men out of Russia last year. No fewer than 50 students from the University College Dublin have been involved in the construction of the Republic of Ireland's first successful launch satellite. The satellite, EIROSat-1, is a 2-unit CubeSat miniature cube satellite equipped with 3 experiments and was deployed into orbit from a Falcon 9 SpaceX rocket from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, United States. The student-built the satellite was constructed under the guidance of the European Space Agency. The launch of the educational Irish Research Satellite 1 has been described as a major milestone in the nation's space industry. The Economic Community of West African States has strongly condemned an outbreak of fighting in Guinea-Bissau, where the situation had returned to calm Saturday. Clashes between members of the National Guard and the Special Forces of the Presidential Guard broke out in the capital, Bissau, leaving 2 dead. ECOWAS stated in a statement that it strongly condemns the violence and all attempts to disrupt the constitutional order and rule of law in Guinea-Bissau. ECOWAS further called for the arrest and the prosecution of the perpetrators of the incident in accordance with the law. In business, Governor Alex Otti has concluded plans to increase the salaries of the Abia State workforce. Otti disclosed this in Umuahia during a media parley with journalists, stating that he is engaging with stakeholders to improve the minimum wage of the state workers, and that soonest the package will be made public. The reason for the adjusting the package, he stated, was in line with the realities of hand, especially in the economy, adding that the recently retired permanent secretaries and directors will receive arrears of salaries and gratuity due to them, while assuring of his commitment to defray pension arrears in the state. Nigeria and Germany signed the Presidential Power Initiative Agreement to improve electricity supply in Africa's most populous nation. This was disclosed in a statement by the Special Advisor to the President, Ajuri Ngilale, saying the signing was presided over by President Bola Tinubu and the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, while the Managing Director of the Nigerian Power Company, Kenny Anuwe, signed on Nigeria's behalf. The Managing Director, Naja Hakansin, signed for Germany, speaking after the signing of ceremony in Dubai. Managing Director of the FGN Power Company, Kenny Anuwe, highlighted Siemens Energy's effective delivery of crucial equipment worth over 63 million euros to the country since the project commenced. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, said it will freeze accounts without a bank verification number, BVN, or national identification number, NIM, from April 2024. This is according to a circular by the Apex Bank, which instructed banks to place a post-no-debt restriction, which prevents customers from making withdrawals, transfers, or any other debits for all existing Tier 1 accounts, wallets without BVN or NIN. It also said all BVN and NIN attached to accounts and wallets must be electronically revalidated by January 31st, 2024. According to the bank, a BVN or NIN verification will be conducted shortly, adding that the move is part of its efforts to promote financial system stability and strengthening of the Know Your Customer KYC procedures in financial institutions. The bank will also carry out a comprehensive BVN and NIN audit shortly, and where breaches are identified, appropriate sanctions shall be applied. And that's how we call it a wrap on AM News on Global Television. I am Anthony Momodu saying thank you for joining me. Good morning.